You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Battista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Hey ladies, welcome to the Dating Den. Well, today's episode is a bit different because it's part of the How to Actually Feel Worthy in Love podcast tour. Every day for 2 whole weeks, the tour is featuring an episode from a variety of really cool podcasts on how to actually feel worthy in love. Veronica especially curated this list of podcasts to ensure that all our listeners get the most actionable, BS-free support that I know you want to feel more worthy when it comes to love. Yesterday's episode was over on Love Life Connection with Veronica Grant. Tomorrow's episode is over on the Joy Junkie Show with Amy Smith. And today, it's me. Janice Bussing joins me to discuss how to finally start feeling confident, secure, and enough so that men see you as a woman of value. If you want to register for the entire tour so you can listen to all these amazing podcasts, go to veronicagrant.com/pod tour. Enjoy the show. Ladies, welcome to the Dating Den. I'm so excited for today. I feel like I say I'm excited all the time, but I honestly am so excited. Because podcasting is one of my favorite things to damn do. I just love talking to amazing people. And for this episode, we are going to be talking to the amazing Janice Bussing, who we had the opportunity to work with for the last year or so, who is an amazing woman that has done all the work. She's successful in her career. She thought she was being open. She was working on herself. She's beautiful. She's smart, right? And finally, she threw up her hands and decided to 100% commit to really solving one of the most important things that we could ever experience in our life, which is love. And here she is to share her inspiration with us today. So welcome. Thank you for being here, Janice.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I have the biggest smile on my face. I'm so excited to be here. And I can't help but laugh about some of the things you say. Yeah, doing all the work, this and that, and throwing her hands up in the air. Yes, that was me.
That was you. And what's funny is, so Janice and I met through another personal development group that we're both in, and I was the facilitator of that group. And often when people come into that group and they're talking about stuff, I have this intuition. I was like, oh, I could totally help this person in this part of their life. But obviously that's not my role in that group. And so I think I was sending you brainwaves let me help you. Let me help you. And so I'm glad you got them. I'm glad it got transmitted to you. So tell everyone, where were you, what was the challenge that you were experiencing when you decided to kind of pick up the phone and ask for help?
Well, it was, as you mentioned, it was a little over a year ago. And I was really looking at my life. I had changed my career. Everything was going really well. And then I looked at my age. I was 56 and I was single. And I hadn't been dating hardly at all in years. And I really looked at it going, oh my gosh, well, this is a problem. If I'm really wanting to live my life fully, this is not being touched upon at all. I was not at all even focusing on it or thinking about it, other than my heart was craving to be in partnership. And it's something that caused me actually a lot of pain, that I hadn't been in a partnership for quite a few years. Okay, so I'm saying it. For 15 years, I hadn't been in a real, true, authentic partnership. So for all you ladies out there, I was there with you. And I just, had this aha moment of now's the time to do it. And seriously, your email popped up in my mailbox. I still don't know how it worked. So as you were sending me the messages, it was seriously, one day and I went, oh, there's my answer. And so I was already at the point knowing that, like you said, I've done all the work, I do a lot of the self-help work and all of that stuff, but there was something really missing in this department that I couldn't fix myself. And I knew I needed massive support on it because it just wasn't working. And I wasn't putting any focus on it because I know I was just scared. There was a lot of fear involved and a lot of old pain and hurt and just really not knowing how to go forward. Because every time I went forward, I actually sabotaged it with my own thoughts of past events and evidence and all that stuff. So I knew I needed help. Okay. And I could not do it myself.
So let's break it down. So first of all, I just want to give you like a little high five hug, saying I haven't been in a relationship in 15 years. Because I was going to ask you, we're like, when is the last time you'd gone? So when was the last time you'd actually gone on a date? Do you remember?
I would say it had at least been it had been maybe 6 months. But prior to that was like maybe a year or two.
So you were in the desert. You were in the desert of love. And I think this is a really good thing to just get out there because honestly, I think that so many people, it's like a secret, like we just sort of downplay it and we focus on all those other things. And I just really want to acknowledge you because it takes a lot of courage to say that the fullest expression of me is to be in a relationship. I put a question in our free Facebook group, our freemium group, about, true or false. I don't want a man, I need one. And the answers were so interesting to that question. And I think it takes a lot of courage to say, no, I don't need one, quote unquote, like to live, but like I need one to fulfill this whisper inside of me that knows that I'm meant to have partnership and intimacy so that I can grow in that way. So I just really, for everyone listening, like it's a brave move. It's a big, brave move to just say, yes, this is something I care about and want to handle.
Yeah. And I knew that I didn't even know what it was like. It's like, I knew it was a whole part of me that I hadn't even tapped into yet. And I knew that I needed the support and the guidance to get me to that place of that, like you say, that full expression of myself. And just the thought of that alone got me like, oh my gosh, this can really happen. Like I really can be in a relationship with a man in my full expression and really be in that place of openness and vulnerability. And I couldn't even think that could happen on my own with me. I mean, I knew it couldn't.
That's amazing. So we talk all the time about, we're very smart. And so our self-sabotage is sometimes obvious. Sometimes we can say like, oh, maybe I had a guard up, or, maybe I took on that extra work project so that I wouldn't have to, date or whatever it is. But for you, after you enhanced or expanded your awareness, how were you self-sabotaging?
While I started dating or beforehand?
Oh, both.
Okay, so beforehand. So this is really great because there's that living the good life. You already have a really good life. That's a self-sabotage in itself.
Yeah, totally.
In my opinion, because I was using my life, which was really good in so many different areas. And I was creating actually really clever stories to self-sabotage me on keeping me out of a relationship.
Like what? Like what were some of the clever stories?
The clever story was, as you know, I go to Europe and work with young kids in Europe for 2 to 3 months out of the year. So my clever story was, there's no man out there that would allow me to continue to do that and be in a relationship at the same time. So I just used it as an excuse that I get my heart and soul filled up with love with this experience with the kids, and that's enough.
Well, not only that's enough, it's like that, because I don't know what the relationship would be like or feel like. I'm saying like this is so amazing, this thing I do, and I wouldn't want to give it up. And therefore it's quote unquote unconsciously more important, but it's not. Right. But you avoided dating because you were so afraid to give it up because it was the place where you were getting love. Right. And that feeling of being filled up. So it's really interesting how we make the stories be our truth.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have any other stories?
That was really the main one on top of, I had so many stories. Oh my gosh, Marni, how many stories did I have? You called me out on every single one of them. You were so good. And it was just the stories that he had to be a certain way. He had to give me certain things to make a relationship work, for him to be the right person. And it's like to the point that I made those so huge that they really X'd out a lot of people just to keep, it was actually just to keep me safe, really, that so I wouldn't get hurt.
So elaborate on that. Cause I think people are like, well, oh my God, did she settle then? Right. Like I have these standards and I would not like, I would never, like, what does she mean? So like, what do you mean? Like, what's the difference between, I say it this way, what's the difference between being discerning and then being picky, which means that you're hiding or avoiding? For you, how did that show up?
So being picky and hiding or avoiding was really putting demands on the other person based in my own fear.
Say more.
So, for example, my fear that I'll just share, I have a base fear that I'll never get what I want. So then I just project that fear that he has to be this, and this to make me okay. And when I was able to actually release the fear, because I was fully functioning in fear in every single situation, all my limiting beliefs, I was dating in my pool of limiting beliefs.
Which means you were dating, like, what does that look like? So you were dating people that then, of course, would be emotionally unavailable or that would be not giving you what you want or right. So you dated sort of like, quote unquote, below your level because that was what you expected?
Well, no, not below my level. I would still be dating, people that I thought were the right people, as in the image, the success, the look, and they would actually be giving me everything I feared most of not being emotionally available. So it's like I would get the outside of them right, but I never got the inside of them right.
And then okay, this is so awesome. So,
oh, good.
Since we're part of the Worthy of Love tour here.
Oh,
so this is great. So what about you was attracting guys like that?
It was a deep, dark-seated belief that I wasn't worthy of love. So, and it's really interesting because I could say a million times, oh, I'm worthy of the best man. I can say it. But there was just some limiting beliefs and woundedness from my past that actually was seeping out of me. And so that was what was attracting exactly what I didn't want.
And I think this, again, courage points, because I hear this all the time, when I talk to listeners, when I talk to other women, they're like, oh no, I know I'm worthy, right? I mean, like intellectually, I know that. It's that what you shared, that the unconscious, that living in fear, our brain is so wired to keep us safe that of course we're going to attract the people that won't give us what we want and give us what we're afraid of as evidence, right? Oh my God, stay hiding, stay, right? So I just want to tell everyone who's listening, your brain is really smart. It takes looking at this from a completely different lens to actually get to the heart of it. So what was different about what you did in the work with us that allowed you to see what you couldn't see before?
Well, first of all, I committed to this work 100%. I made a full-blown commitment that I was going to give it my all and show up 100% and just be honest and vulnerable and open. And it was that when I came to work with you that I would just speak what I was feeling and thinking. And that's the power of working with a coach, in my opinion, because they hear what you're really saying, which I don't even hear what I'm saying. And it's being, like they say, you can't see the picture when you're inside. You can't see the picture when you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame.
Right.
So I couldn't see what I was actually saying, and I needed it to be pointed out to me. And then just the actual, work that I did on my own, like I dug into my belief systems and I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that was there. And then on top of it, had you and the other coaches helping me, like really break me open. I was broken open. I like cracked open and really just acknowledged some beliefs I had that I was living with for years and years and years that were so limiting. And it's from that work that I was able to then like create a new beautiful foundation from that place of what would it really be like if I was authentic. Like I realized in the relationship I'm in now, it's like, this is the first relationship I've ever stepped into authentically. Like really, like he's going to stay, even if I say the biggest fears I have, he's still there. So it was like believing I could be really myself for the first time and not be in a relationship. Like, what is he going to say? How is he going to react? What's going to happen next? And I would never have thought that I actually thought that way. And I did.
And that's what's so amazing is that not feeling worthy is hidden so below the surface. It manifests in our behaviors and the words that we choose. I love that you said you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame because it's so ingrained in us, right? Because we've been doing it for years and years that we don't even know it's a limitation because we think it's truth. And that's what's so crazy about a limiting belief is you don't know it's a limiting belief. Sometimes you think it's the truth. You need someone to be like, hello, like, like it's the Matrix, right? Do you want to put on these other glasses? Because if you do, you'll really see the truth. But from that place, right, then you can create that foundation. So when you looked at like doing dating differently, what were some of the boundaries that you set up so that you would be discerning rather than picky, that you would be emotionally open rather than in fear?
I would say boundaries. I would say the creating non-negotiables was probably one of the most powerful things I've ever done for myself.
Say more.
I think, well, because I never, in my head, non-negotiables is they can't do this, they can't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's like all the can'ts. And so to actually do it the way, first coming from the unveiling of so many limiting beliefs, that I created, and then go into creating these non-negotiables. And that's where the worthiness comes in. It's like believing that I'm worthy of these non-negotiables.
I love that. Well, and also how were they different, right? Because before you said they had to have all these external things, right? Like what shifted in the way that you did this when you're coming from a place of worthiness?
It was coming from the place of who do I get to be in this experience? It's coming from not what he has to give me. It's coming from a place of through this experience, who do I get to be in my spirituality, in the relationship? And then how does he bring that out of me? How does he support me in that? It was just the whole energy, vibration was coming from a place of more solidness. I used that word before, like a solid place of this is who I am. This is who I get to be. And what does it look like in a relationship? And then how do we meet together in a relationship? And how does he show up to support me being my grandest version? So there wasn't the need. The need was out.
Well, yeah. And I think that's such a huge thing too, right? Because when we call it like, the get syndrome, right? Like, how do I get a guy to do this? How do I get a guy to give me this? How do I get a guy that's good enough? How do I get good looking enough? That's rich enough? That's smart enough? That's emotionally intelligent enough, right? We get this focus on how do we get. And what you're sharing here is you filled up yourself and you said like, here's who I really am authentically at my essence. And here's how I want to feel and be in relationship. And in order to do that, I will partner with someone who shares some of these same common things. And from that place, we both are living authentically. And then a lot of the rest of it, we talk about your wish list and your non-negotiable list, right? Like, yeah, of course you'd love it if he reads as much as you do. And you'd love it if he, like loves to go hiking or whatever it is. It's very different than really looking at like, how am I going to show up and what are the core values that we share that allow us to like partner together? So what were some of those things that you had on your wish list, and what was something that you had on your non-negotiable list?
So this is really great because I had said on my non-negotiables that he creates a safe space for me to step into my truth and allow me to process and be vulnerable. And that was the number one thing when I was getting into the relationship I am now in, that he gave me right from the start. And it just, because I was processing, I had to process a lot going into this relationship. It wasn't just like, oh, okay, we're here, where it's happening. It's like he created a beautiful place of allowing me to continually take that step inward in the relationship, even into myself becoming my best version in a relationship. Because let's just say, I didn't know even who I was in my best version in a relationship. So there was a processing that happened. And I asked specifically, he creates a safe space for me to process. And that was the one thing that kept on me coming back into, even when there was times I wanted to run. That was the one thing that kept on having me come back. And what was interesting is, like, when you say the wish list and the non-negotiables, it's so often we can say, well, he loves to read all the same books with me and go on retreats as a non-negotiable. Well, I used to be able to take one little thing and throw somebody out of the picture. If he doesn't, if he doesn't read enough or he doesn't go on retreats, I'm like, well, he's not as aware as I am and blah, blah, blah. And he's out of here. So it was really great to be able to have the help to clean up my non-negotiables, to have them very clear, and then have the wish list.
What's something that was on your wish list that you got met, and what's something that you didn't?
So one of the things on the wish list is that he would love reading together. It was just a wish. I didn't even know if it had ever come true. It was just a wish.
Right.
And he loves when I read to him. We sit out by the fire pit and we read, self-help books. I mean, it's like something I dreamed up, really. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is coming true. And then it's funny because so many other people come in and go, I'm going to put that on my wish list too. And I'm like, do it. It's so much fun. And he loves it.
That's so awesome. And this is a really important point, ladies who are listening, because you could say that, the guy I'm with doesn't read self-help books, so he's not my guy. And what Janice created is, maybe her boyfriend doesn't go and buy, 7 books and come home and be like, hey, Janice, I read all these books, or, here's 4 books you could read. But he's like, hey, because I have that value of like processing and talking and creating safe space, I love sitting with you and reading from these books and talking about things. And that's like a game changer, right? Just that one little switch in looking at how we either look at ways to rule guys out, which most women do, right? He's out, versus looking for ways to rule them in, and really based on that non-negotiable. And is there anything I know that I can't remember whether it was a hike, nature, or something, but I remember one time you posted in our group that your boyfriend wasn't like, he didn't come like loaded with like a love of nature or outdoors. Like maybe that was on your wish list. And tell me about that one.
It was so classic. So it was actually, I didn't put nature, but I said a traveler because I am an international traveler. And it was funny because we went up to Yosemite and he had never been to Yosemite, never thought of going to Yosemite. And I've been going to Yosemite for 42 years and we had the opportunity to go up there. And he just said yes because he has this trust in me. And I just said, this is my world, let me work it out and let's just go up there and just trust me on this. So he goes up there and we're seriously in the middle of this meadow. Yosemite Falls on one side, Half Dome on the other side. And I'm like, isn't this just magnificent? And he turns around to me and he's like, before this, I really wasn't a nature guy. I just busted out laughing. And it was just like, if he would have said that before, I probably would have used that against him. But it was like, it's really just, for me, it's allowing the process to happen too, allowing things to unfold, not shoving things into the places. And there's just so much that has happened with us that there's I've had an awakening with him. He's having awakenings with me. And it's just really trusting the process because I know I did the work beforehand.
I love that.
I did. I know this is all a process. So for example, even on my non-negotiables, we've been together for almost 9 months now, 8 or 9 months. And, I would highlight the non-negotiables that he is doing. And there's still some that have the opportunity to process into. And it's not like it's not a demand. It's like, we're both growing, we're both changing and being open to, believing we're both worthy and deserving of a great love, an epic love like we talk about.
That's so amazing. And I think that what is cool is that he obviously has some non-negotiable that allowed him to trust you to be able to say yes to going on that trip, right? And that's what I always say, what are the non-negotiables that you have that can allow you to process through those things that are on the wish list or those challenges that you have, right? That's the true litmus test. So what non-negotiable did he have that made him the guy who was like, yes, I will go do this with you. And wow, I never thought I liked nature, but this is pretty cool.
Yes. So help me out with that one. Say that.
So I always say you get these 5 non-negotiables on our campus, right? And the guy's not perfect, right? So he's not a nature guy, right? But he doesn't need to be a nature guy necessarily because he has these 5 things that are really the core. He's a guy who says yes anyway when he's outside, when it's a wish list item, right? I love nature became a wish list thing for you.
Yes. Exactly.
So what did he have? What was the non-negotiable that he met that allowed him to explore the nature part of you?
I think it was the trusting in my enthusiasm for things. I get so enthusiastic about life and opportunities and going places that he ended up just having this really deep trust in me. And that goes into spirituality. That goes into my spirituality non-negotiable. That goes into my partnership non-negotiable. And that even goes into, integrity and it goes into all of it. He just had so many of my non-negotiables. And it wasn't like, well, at least he has these and it's okay if he doesn't have that. It wasn't like that. It was like, the non-negotiables, he showed up 100% in all those other non-negotiables.
And I think, so I just want to highlight for you all who are listening, right, is that remember, we're not looking for someone perfect. We're looking for someone who has these core things so that when life happens, you have this foundation that allows you to create a life of shared meaning. And that's really what's amazing is that you have your own joys, right? And then you're also creating this life together of shared meaning and shared dreams. And that's what's really, really, really beautiful. So now let me ask you this. So a lot of people think that, you do something and then it's going to be magical and easy. And then this magic guy just plops into your life, oh yeah, I did this course and he just plopped into my life. So you had to sort of grow through the dating process. So how did you know that your current partner was the right one for you in jumping back into dating courageously and with dignity. Ultimately, he won the prize of Janice. How did you know he was your guy?
How did I know he was my guy? I would say that every time he knew I was struggling within the dating, because it was a process for me to show up authentically. It wasn't, even though I did the work, now I'm putting it into action. So there was some times that, I had a lot of processing to do. And he kept on saying to me, I'm not going anywhere. And then also, everything I said or anything I shared, he didn't change who he was. He stayed solid for me, for us. And that just continued and didn't stop. And then when I said, I put on one of my guidelines, I'm waiting to get intimate with somebody. And he said, I'll wait forever. So he kept on showing up to support me through my process so I could continually step into the relationship. And there was times it was really hard for me because a lot of stuff was coming up for me. And that's why I stayed in your program, because I said, there's one thing about finding the guy, I need to stay with the guy.
Well, right, because we call it new level, new devil, right? Like,
yes,
there's that foundation that you're building of enoughness, and it continues to get challenged as you explore. The higher the stakes get, the more you like someone, the more that little part of you that's like, well, let's get out of here. This is really scary. I'm really liking this person. And you have to stay in it, right? And stay curious and stay open. And so I love that you did that, because with that, you were able to be resilient. The last thing I want to ask you is, and I think this is so important, I think you're a champion at this, is you said one time, I realize that I love doing the work. Like, I love thinking about it and processing it and learning more awarenesses. But the change was that you had to be in it or be in the feelings of it. There was some sort of nuance. I remember that moment I heard you say it. I was like, wow, this is really the big thing. Because I think when you love learning and growing and you love personal development, we can kind of get caught up in another aha, another, that makes sense. Oh, wow. But when you're actually having to do it, it's a whole different story. What was that moment for you?
Yeah, that was, I had two specific crack opens when I was working with you. And that was the difference. Like you said, oh yeah, it's so much fun having the ahas, and oh, that's a great new awareness. And I'm going to implement that in my life. And it's like when you get into the down and dirty of feeling what you really need to feel to break the pattern, that's when everything changes. And I remember exactly what you're talking about. It's like there's something about just being in the experience, and then there's a whole other level of really transforming through the experience by feeling what you need to feel to break through to the other side. And that's the importance of the support, because oh my gosh, the support was a pivotal point for me.
And I think that's really clear difference, is that we know that in order to really shift, we have to be courageous. And it's so hard to we often hold one side of the cliff and we're trying to hold the other one, and we're getting stretched and stretched and stretched, and we just stay in that intellectual place. But it's to really get to the new side, you have to just trust and let go and be in it and be the feelings and have those difficult conversations and really do things differently. And I think that's where real change happens. And you were so coachable and so open. And so you're like, all right, tell me what I need to hear.
Because I know I'm bullshitting my way out of relationships right, left, and center. So help me.
And that's what's really actually, and I think we can end on this, which is so cool. I love this as a perfect sort of wrapping it up, because one of the core limiting beliefs most people who are listening to this show think is that there's really not many guys. Like Janice is so lucky. She found the unicorn. Like, I've been dating forever. They're not there. Where are they? Or intellectually, I know they're there, but I don't know how to find them, or whatever your story is. But the truth is that once you are into your worthiness, right, and you have a strategy and a system, the truth is, like, the getting the dates is not actually hard. The getting the dates with quality guys isn't hard. It's really about being in that different space and making different choices moment to moment that are in alignment with who you really are. So if you have any hope for our listeners around the number of quality guys that are out there and how easy in some ways it is to get that first part for someone who didn't date for 15 years, what kind of hope can you offer the people who are listening?
It works. They're out there. It's really about believing 100%, knowing that if you look at it in a different way and get rid of the need out of it, and like, who do you get to be to meet these quality guys, then you're going to be a magnet to them. And it's being in the surrender. There's a process. And this is one thing I just wanted to add. I knew that every guy I dated was the connecting of the dots to the right guy. So I stopped like putting pressure on, oh, this one didn't work. It's like, oh, I wonder, what I'm going to get out of this experience that's going to connect me to the right guy. So they're out there. You only need one, ladies.
Right, exactly. I know. I say that all the time. You only need one.
Do. Yeah, I know you do. And it's so true. And it's if you just go into the surrender of knowing that when you do the work and be consistent and believe that everything you put into it, you will get back, then, it can't not be the most extraordinary experience of your life. And that's what it has been for me. And I'm just so grateful for Marni and the team and all everything. It's been the most expansive experience of my life. And I'm just so beyond grateful.
No, I love it. You're amazing. I want to remind all of you who are listening, and it started with Janice. It wasn't like, oh, which is better, Bumble or Hinge? Which is, do I say this? What, it's really an inside out job. It's always been over here. And you're just such a great model of that, and you finally seeing your own worthiness is just been such a beautiful journey, and I'm excited for what's next. Ladies, whatever you do, you're worthy, and you need to do it with some damn dignity. We'll see you next time. Bye for now. Ladies, just a reminder that today's episode of The Dating Den is part of the How to Actually Feel Worthy in Love podcast tour. Every day for 2 weeks, the tour is featuring an episode from a variety of amazing podcasts on how to actually feel worthy in love. If you want to register for the entire tour so you can listen to all the participating podcasts, make sure you go now to veronicagrant.com/pod tour. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time in the den. Hey, thanks for tuning into today's show. So if being in an intimate relationship in which you feel 100% seen, heard, and accepted by a high caliber man is a priority for you right now, and you're interested in seeing if you're a fit for working with me and my team at Dating with Dignity, here's what I want you to do. Just head over to DWD VIP, that's D as in dating, W, D as in dating, VIP.com, and book a call to speak with my team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 60 minutes, and you'll get crystal clear on what's stopping you from finding true love right now. We'll also take a look at what you want to create, what you want your whole life to look like when you're able to finally be fully expressed as a woman in a healthy relationship with an incredible guy. And if we can help you get from where you are right now to where you want to be, we will show you the fastest path possible that makes sense for you to do that. We help smart, successful women all over the world solve this one missing piece in their life so they can finally have it all. So to see if we can help you do the same thing, head over to DWDVIP.com. I'm Marni Battista, and let's talk soon.